Alright guys, this is going to be a follow-up range review for the initial review that I did on this 22 Conversion Kit for the Glock 19 frame. So we're going to, I'll show you guys kind of my setup for it. Since it does fit a regular Glock, I'm just running this, this is a Badger concealment holster, something I got off Amazon a while back. And then I run this mag pouch from Davis Tactical. He's a seller on eBay. If you look him up, I've got several of his holsters in mag pouches. They work pretty good. I run them in this, let's see, it is a Blue Force gear belt. So the way I run it is I'm a lefty, so mag pouch on one side of the buckle, holster on the other side of the buckle. It works well for me. I prefer this setup over a sidecar style holster, just because I like to have a little more flexibility on which gun I'm running with which mag pouch at the time. And if I run a sidecar, since I have several different guns that I like to carry off and on, I don't want to have to buy a sidecar for every different gun and holster combination. This way I can run multiple Glocks with different holsters and use the same mag pouches. So I mentioned in my initial review that the gun seems to run better with the Federal bulk pack stuff. This is some older stuff. The boxes look a little different now, but this is what I use. I think the reason for that, as I mentioned before, is the hollow points on the Federal. This is the Federal here. You'll notice it's more of a rounded hollow point, and the Winchester stuff that I've had poor luck with is really wide open in the hollow point and kind of fat, kind of square on the front, and it just hangs up on the feed lips. And as I mentioned in the last video, I have that bizarre malfunction where it'll just spit one out the top. So what we're going to do is load up some Federal and go out on the range and do a little bit of shooting. You guys can see how it functions, and we'll probably load up a magazine of Winchester as well, and let you guys, I'm sure I can duplicate that malfunction because it happens pretty often. So here we are on the range. I apologize if there's some wind noise. I'm filming on a cell phone because I can't afford a camera, so it is what it is. So what we're going to do first is we're going to run this magazine full of Federal through. I've got a second magazine full of Federal loaded up, and then at the end I'm going to run this magazine of Winchester and see if I can duplicate some of the failures that I've had in the past, and I'll show those to you guys when they happen. So we're going to just do a little shooting. Now, just because it runs Federal doesn't mean it doesn't ever malfunction. You get a bunch of these. And as you can see, it didn't load another round. So usually I can just tap rack those and not lose a shell case, or lose a full shell on the ground, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it'll load one and then you drop one on the ground, but we'll shoot a little more and then we'll go to the Winchester and see if we can duplicate some of those spitting shells at the top malfunctions. Okay, so this is the Winchester, and it didn't spit it all the way out, but it will do this sometimes too. It'll just pop a shell straight up. I don't know why. At first I thought, and you'll notice here, it dented that round, and kind of pop the bullet out of place, but I always just load these back up. Usually I can get them to chamber, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so that's on me when I chambered that round. The striker, obviously, or the slide obviously wasn't fully forward, and it'll get a weak primer strike sometimes after you try to chamber around like that. We'll see on the let me get it out. We will see on the shell that there's a primer strike, or there's a strike on it, but it's just a light strike, and so it didn't go ahead and fire that round. But we will load it back up, see if we can get it to work. So now one thing that it pretty consistently does is it doesn't lock open. And then you'll notice, you might have noticed earlier, here you can take a look at this, the base plate on the mag sometimes will slide forward on you. You gotta watch those and make sure they don't come off. And the magazines don't exactly drop free. Generally you have to strip them out, which it's not a bad habit to get into, in my opinion. Some people strip mags all the time. I tend to, if they fall, they fall. If not, I'm just stripping them out when I'm loading a new mag anyway. And it's not that hard to train yourself to get the new mag, strip, and throw another one in there. So I don't mind the malfunctions. It gives me more chance to train on getting the gun back up and running. But for some people, a gun that malfunctions this much might be a deal breaker. For me, it's not. I still have fun with it. I think it's a good training tool, but that just depends on your personal preference. So anyway, that's my shooting review.